He's the classical prodigy who swam with Olympic drive and conquered the New York avant-garde. From co-founding jazz fusion royalty to shattering the traditional blueprint of the double bass, his legendary bowing and fierce independence redefined modern rhythm. You've heard the genius. Now meet the man who refused to become a human metronome. This is the epic legacy of the ultimate uncompromising master, Miroslav Vitouš. Before we continue, subscribe now, like this video, comment, and share. The roots of modern jazz rock fusion do not begin entirely within the crowded, neon-lit clubs of New York or the sunny studio spaces of California. They stretch back to the historic cobblestone streets of post-war Prague, where Miroslav Ladislav Vitous was born into a deeply musical household in December 1947. Long before he ever laid eyes on an American stage, Vitous was subjected to a rigorous, uncompromising musical education that began with classical violin at the exceptionally tender age of 6. By 10, his focus shifted toward the structural discipline of the piano, but it was at age 14 that he discovered his true lifelong calling when he picked up the double bass. Studying intensely at the prestigious Prague Conservatory, he integrated classical bowing techniques with an innate, fiery desire for rhythmic freedom. This early classical mastery would soon allow him to execute lightning-fast, horn-like melodies on the acoustic bass that left traditional jazz purists in absolute disbelief. There is a fascinating secret dimension to the unyielding stamina and ferocious focus of Miroslav Vitous that very few casual music fans truly understand. During his formative teenage years in Europe, he was not only practicing his instrument for up to 10 hours a day, but he was also training as a highly elite, top-tier Olympic contender in freestyle swimming. This grueling athletic background instilled in him an extraordinary sense of lung capacity, muscle memory, and an absolute psychological refusal to break down when facing a wall of physical exhaustion. That precise, fierce determination translated instantly into his musicianship when he entered an prestigious international music contest in Vienna. Competing against Europe's finest young talents, Vitous won first prize with absolute ease, earning a life-changing scholarship to the Berklee College of Music in Boston. He made the bold choice to leave behind his familiar life, crossing the Atlantic alone to conquer an entirely new musical continent. Stepping off the plane in the United States in 1966, the young Czech bassist found himself completely immersed in a foreign, high-pressure world during the absolute peak of the Cold War era. Coming from a country under strict rule, the sheer explosion of personal and artistic freedom in America was both exhilarating and profoundly overwhelming for a lone teenager. He initially settled into his academic studies at Berklee, where his jaw-dropping technique quickly caught the attention of mainstream jazz giants who realized this European youth possessed a completely unique rhythmic voice. In fact, the legendary saxophonist Cannonball Adderley was so stunned by Vitus's playing that he immediately offered him a coveted, high-paying spot in his world-famous touring group. Exhibiting a rare, mature level of discipline, Miroslav actually turned down Adderley's lucrative offer because he was completely determined to finish his formal studies first. This uncompromising dedication to his personal long-term growth ensured that when he finally chose to turn professional, he did so completely on his own terms. By the summer of 1967, Miroslav Vitous knew that his academic cocoon in Boston was no longer large enough to contain his rapidly expanding creative vision, prompting a crucial move to New York City. The city's jazz scene was undergoing a violent, earth-shaking transformation as traditional bebop templates were being systematically dismantled by free jazz and modal experimentation. Vitouš walked right into this creative hurricane and instantly became one of the most sought-after acoustic bassists on the eastern seaboard. Within months of his arrival, he was working regularly with elite visionaries like Stan Getz, Herbie Mann, Freddie Hubbard, and Bob Brookmeyer. He even spent a brief, highly intense period performing live with the iconic Miles Davis, absorbing the trumpet master's revolutionary concepts of spatial awareness and minimalism. Musicians across Manhattan spoke in hushed, reverent tones about this young European who could make a massive wooden double bass sing like a tenor saxophone while maintaining a rock-solid driving pulse. The year 1968 would yield one of the most historic, permanently influential recording sessions in the entire timeline of modern acoustic jazz piano trios. Miroslav Vitous joined forces with the brilliant young keyboard wizard Czech Corea and the remarkably precise, swinging veteran drummer Roy Haynes to enter the studio for a project titled Now He Sings, Now He Sobs. This album completely shattered the traditional blueprint of a jazz trio, where the bassist was typically expected to hide in the background and merely pluck out simple, repetitive walking roots. Instead, Vitous engaged in a fierce, completely equal three-way conversation, unleashing dizzying counter-melodies, utilizing his bow to create staggering ambient textures, and matching Korea's lightning-fast modal runs note for note. Songs like Steps and Matrix became instant manual guides for generations of aspiring rhythm sections worldwide. The album solidified Vitous' reputation not just as a reliable sideman, but as a top-tier creative force who was actively redefining the physical boundaries of his instrument. As the decade of the 1960s drew to a turbulent close, Miroslav Vitous was ready to make his definitive statement as a solo recording artist and bandleader. In 1969, he assembled an absolute supergroup of elite, forward-thinking young musicians, including guitar icon John McLaughlin, keyboardist Jan Hammer, saxophonist Joe Henderson, and drum master Jack DeJohnette. The resulting masterpiece, released widely in 1970 under the evocative title Infinite Search, stands to this day as one of the true foundational pillars of early jazz rock fusion. On tracks like Freedom Jazz Dance and Epilogue, Vitous showcased an extraordinary, revolutionary command of both acoustic and heavily amplified upright bass textures. He did not rely on the thick commercial funk formulas that would later dominate the mid-1970s. Instead, he used his instrument as a high-powered melodic torch, carving out fluid, abstract sonic pathways that beautifully bridged the gap between avant-garde jazz and high-energy rock dynamics. The creative chemistry generated by these various late 60s recording sessions naturally led to the formation of what would become the most successful, universally celebrated fusion band in the history of music. In late 1970, Miroslav Vitous teamed up with two absolute giants of the Miles Davis alumni circle, the brilliant Austrian keyboardist Joe Zawinul and the poetic American saxophonist Wayne Shorter. Together, these three fiercely independent composers co-founded the legendary supergroup known across the globe as Weather Report. From its very inception, the band's foundational artistic philosophy was completely revolutionary. They boldly declared that nobody plays and everybody plays. Vitous was not there to simply provide a boring, repetitive bass loop for the soloists to play over. He was an absolute equal partner in a spontaneous, multi-directional musical conversation. Their self-titled 1971 debut album blew the minds of listeners worldwide, presenting an organic, ambient, and highly improvisational collective soundscapes that felt entirely alien to anything heard before. By 1972, Weather Report was rapidly evolving into an absolute global touring phenomenon, pushing the absolute limits of live electronics and avant-garde group interplay on their second landmark album, I Sing the Body Electric. On this brilliant, highly experimental record, Miroslav Vitous pushed his upright acoustic bass into completely uncharted electronic territories. He began running his instrument through complex wah-wah pedals, distortion units, and electronic delay systems, generating a haunting, vocal-like horn quality that soared elegantly alongside Wayne Shorter's soprano saxophone. Whether performing live at Tokyo's legendary Shibuya Kokaido Hall or tracking deep, abstract studio pieces, Vitous was instrumental in crafting the band's signature cosmic textures. He masterfully proved that an upright bass could wield the immense physical power and sonic variety of an electric instrument without sacrificing its organic wooden soul. The band was attracting massive rock audiences while maintaining an uncompromising high-level avant-garde artistic integrity. However, beneath the immense global success and the dazzling artistic triumphs of Weather Report's early years, a deep, fundamentally unresolvable creative friction was beginning to tear at the band's core. As the mid-1970s approached, Joe Zawinul became increasingly fascinated by the commercial potential of heavy, repetitive electronic synthesizers and highly structured, danceable funk grooves. Zawinul wanted to steer the band toward a more commercial direction, a move that would require the bass player to stop improvising freely and instead lock into rigid, repetitive, and unyielding ostinato patterns. For a classically trained virtuoso like Miroslav Vitous, who viewed music as a non-stop democratic conversation between equal instruments, this structural shift felt like an absolute artistic prison sentence. He completely refused to swallow his pride and become a mere human metronome, leading to intense personal and musical arguments behind the closed doors of dressing rooms and recording studios. The boiling point was finally reached during the early recording sessions for the 1974 album Mysterious Traveler, a moment that resulted in Miroslav Vitous' shocking departure from the group he had helped build from the ground up. The band officially replaced him with the brilliant, funk-oriented electric bassist Alphonso Johnson to achieve the commercial, driving groove that Zawinul so desperately craved. Vitous walked away from the massive financial security and global fame of Weather Report to protect his artistic freedom, but the split left deep, long-lasting emotional and legal scars. For 7 long years following his departure, Vitous faced immense structural hardships regarding his rightful share of the band's lucrative royalties, eventually forcing him to confront Zawinul directly to claim his earnings. He watched from afar as the band transitioned into a global pop fusion juggernaut with Jaco Pastorius, knowing that the original, free-flowing democratic dream of Weather Report had ceased to exist. Rather than sinking into bitterness or allowing the painful Weather Report split to compromise his artistic drive, Miroslav Vitous chose to redirect his massive intellectual energy toward higher education and mentorship. In the late 1970s, he accepted a highly prestigious appointment as the director of the jazz department at the world-renowned New England Conservatory of Music in Boston. For 3 highly successful years, Vitous brought his rigorous classical background and his extensive New York street experience into the classroom, completely reshaping the institution's jazz curriculum. He demanded that his young students look past the shallow commercial trends of the era, forcing them to master the deep, historical foundations of direct instrumental conversation and acoustic purity. This academic interlude allowed Vitous to ground himself, step away from the grueling physical demands of non-stop international touring, and prepare his mind for a massive solo comeback on the global stage. By the early 1980s, the irresistible pull of live performance proved too strong to ignore, prompting Miroslav Vitous to reunite with his old comrades Czech Corea and Roy Haynes for a historic project appropriately dubbed Trio Music. This magnificent reunion resulted in a series of highly successful international tours and stunning ECM recordings that proved the legendary 1968 chemistry between the three masters was completely untouched by time. They spent 2.5 years performing across the globe, delivering breathtaking improvisations that served as a middle finger to the slick, overproduced commercial jazz of the decade. Following this triumphant run, Vitous made the permanent choice in 1988 to relocate back to his European homeland, settling into a highly prolific life as a full-time composer and solo performer. He began touring Europe extensively, performing solo acoustic bass concerts that left audiences spellbound by his absolute technical control and deep emotional phrasing. As the 21st century dawned, Miroslav Vitous pulled off what is universally considered his most unexpected, technologically staggering achievement, one that had absolutely nothing to do with traditional jazz clubs. Recognizing that the commercial electronic synthesizers and digital sound libraries of the marketplace were severely lacking in organic quality and emotional depth, he took a complete 7-year break from live public performance. Vitous locked himself away in high-tech studios to meticulously record every single individual solo player and section within a premier European symphonic orchestra. He poured his life savings and his relentless Olympic-level focus into creating the legendary Miroslav Vitous orchestral sample libraries. This monumental technical achievement completely revolutionized the film scoring and music production industries, allowing modern composers to replicate the complex nuance, bowing dynamics, and lush textures of a real symphonic orchestra within a digital workspace. Miroslav Vitous stands today as a towering, completely uncompromising monument to the eternal spirit of musical freedom and artistic integrity. From his early classical upbringing in the face of Cold War adversity to his brilliant revolutionary work as the co-founder of Weather Report and his pioneering digital inventions, he has systematically refused to let his voice be silenced by commercial greed or industry pressure. His timeless recorded legacy, preserved beautifully on labels like ECM, continues to serve as an absolute textbook for bassists who wish to treat their instrument as a soaring melodic force rather than a hidden rhythmic anchor. He proved to the world that true success is not measured by hollow commercial radio play or mainstream charts, but by the raw, unvarnished power of an honest musical statement that echoes across generations, keeping the flame of pure, unadulterated groove burning bright forever. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next video.